Hi friends, so today we are going to be painting these really lovely pretty peonies. I paint a lot of these every year because I love them. I love the color, I love the shape, they're kind of fluffy, and I think they're really fun. I did a little short on this one I painted yesterday. So I just think they're beautiful. So that's what we're going to be painting today. I've got my supplies here, my 2 containers of water, my little palette, and my Velvet Touch number 8 Princeton round. And I put all of these links, if you want to take a look at them, in my description. And I'm using my Winsor Newton paints today. So we're going to be using a little bit of Opera Rose, which is a very, very pinky pink. And then the Quin Magenta, which you see me use quite often. And I love to combine it with this orange. So every spring I find myself, doing a lot of mixing with these 2 colors, the orange and the Quin Magenta or the Opera Rose. I just think it's so beautiful. So that's what we'll be using today. So let's start with our swatch. As you know, I always advise to create a swatch so you can see what your colors are going to look like together. So this here is the Quin Magenta, and as you see, I've got a really beautiful, nice shine, but no puddles. And if you've watched my videos on laying down your paint, I always tell you, put enough on so it creates this beautiful shine, but no puddles, no pooling, because that's where you really get a lot of spreading of your paint and you might get frustrated. So next we're going to go to this Cad Orange, which I love this color. To me, it's a really true orange. And let's mix that up, and we're going to add that next to this so you can see how that looks. Now that looks like it's got a little bit of another color in there actually. That's okay. So I'm laying down this wash of orange, and look how beautiful already. I could even join these up and you can see how pretty they are together. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I just love it. Now I might just pull down a little bit and maybe mix these a little bit more so you can see that. Isn't that really just beautiful? I think those 2 colors go so well with each other. So I'm washing, I'm rinsing my brush, and then I just dab it a little bit. And then next we're going to go into our greens. So today I'm using, I always mix my olive and my sap green. And I will put those links as well in my description, and I get this really lovely green shade. So let's go ahead and put that down. And I love creating these swatches. It also warms up my hand and just brings that muscle memory back to me. I might even play with lightening it a bit and drawing it down to see how light I can get it. So it's just this practice. Look at that beautiful transition I'm able to get with just water versus adding in a white to that. Let's see, what other color might we use? We might use a little bit of the Cad Yellow. So let's get a little bit of that on my brush. I'm not for sure I'll use that color, but let's add it in here just in case. So I'll do a swash of that. Look at how beautiful this palette is. If, I had to choose 4 colors for the rest of life, this would be it. I just, it's just like the word delicious comes to mind. I just love this palette. So I'm washing and rinsing my brush, just tapping on some of that excess. So this will be our palette colors. All right, and in my little work kits, my little worksheets, my prep work kits that you all have been purchasing, I only obviously do one per tutorial. You get this swatch, and I'll list the colors for you. And then next, what I will do, let me find my paper, is we'll just practice some of these strokes. So for the peony, I'm using the point of my brush at the base of the petal. And then as I go out, I'm kind of going around, and sometimes I'm even using the side of my brush and really flattening it out, laying down my brush to get that thicker stroke. Okay, so really practicing these strokes of going from thin to thick. Let me show you here. So let me just get a little bit of this paint on my brush. I'm putting quite a bit of water in there right now. So I'm really loading my brush. And then, you know, peonies are kind of in this bowl. They create this bowl shape here. So I'm constantly, when I paint peonies, they're very fluffy, but they're like this little C-shaped bowl. So, you know, they've got this type of look to them, if you can see that. And then they're going to have some leaves that fall out because they are fluffy. And then I'm going to go around the outer edge. Okay, so it's something like this. And then in the center, you have the little stamens like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just practice. I'm going to turn this around, and let's just practice those strokes. So you're pointing towards the center of the bowl, so to speak, and you're using the point of your brush. So point, lay down your brush, and come up and around, okay? And then you're gonna come from here. We're going to leave some white space in here. Point, press, and come around. So you've got this beautiful little circle to start with, okay? And then we're just going to start building onto that. So let's do another one next to it. Point, push down your brush, and around. Then the other side, point, press, and just create this round petal. Okay, now we're going to start forming those petals that come around and make it into that bowl. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with a little bit of orange here. So I'm just going to dip my brush in the paint, get a little bit of that pink off, and go into this orange. And I'm keeping it kind of watery here, okay? And I'm going to let it touch and blend. So now, keeping in mind, I'm starting to go around. These are the petals right in the front. Now, so we're kind of looking at this peony from the side. So I'm going to come around, point, because I'm pressing back to the bottom bowl of the flower. So point, touching that side petal, and coming up and around. Look at how beautiful that is. And here I'm actually going to use the side of my brush, press down, and come in here. Look at that, how pretty. I'm rinsing off my brush, scraping it lightly, and I'm going to maybe come out here. Okay, come out here. So we're just creating kind of this cup. We go into some of my pink and just touch into some of these little areas like that. and then come out. So I'm pointing towards the center of my flower. Point, press, and draw out. Point, press, and draw out, okay? So these are some of the petals that are falling away. Point, press, just like so. And then we're going to keep creating this little bowl. So point, press, just coming around like so. Let me do another one over here. Point using the side of my brush. Point like this. So I've really got a big bowl here. I'm going to go into these little areas. So just practicing these strokes where you're going thin, thick, like that. Let me get a little bit more water. Thin, thick, thin, thick. Practicing those type of strokes. Thin, thick, like this, okay? Now what we're going to end up doing is we want to create the top of that bowl. So they're going to be the same type of strokes. Point, press, point, press, point, press. So we're creating this bowl at the top. So it's, again, following this circle around, like so. Press, and then coming in, okay? And then later we'll go in and put the yellow in the middle, all right? So that was just kind of some practice there. Practicing point, press, point, press, like that. Pressing and coming to a point. Come around. Just practicing a whole sheet of those, okay? So let's see. Go ahead and get our good paper. I'm going to grab my 140 pound. This one is Arches, actually. This is a pretty good paper I've got here today. Just happens to be I cut a piece and that's what I had. So let's go ahead and we're going to start. So remembering we're in that bowl shape, okay? So we've kind of got this flower. You can even trace a little bit with a pencil. Remember, if you do use a pencil can show through watercolors. So if you use a pencil, you know, really do it lightly because it will show through your painting. So I've got this bowl here because I'm looking at my peony from the side. So let's start with our first brush stroke here. Let me get some paint. Pretty watery here. Okay. And I'm going to go in. I'm pointing. Okay, so I'm pointing the tip, point, press, okay? And then coming in again, trying to leave some white space, point, press, okay? So there you go. And then let's do another one right next to it. Point, press, point, press, like this. There you go. Okay, so we've got our first two here. Now, while this is wet, I might go in and add some very dark value of that Quin Magenta, just touching at the tip here and letting that spread, okay? I might even use that darker value here and maybe coming out over here, point, press, point, press, just like that, okay? And then let's play with our orange because I love, again, those colors together. And let's create a petal coming out here. Point, press, like that. And then I'm trying to do this without getting my arm too much in the way. Point, press, because we're coming around creating this bowl here. Okay, like that. Okay, so we're starting to come around. Let's do some more. Let's come out because peonies always have those fluffy feathers all around. So we want to add some falling away from the base of the peony. So point towards the center and come out just like that. Pointing towards the center and creating that circle. Okay, and then let's have one coming out here, point, like that. Now notice that I'm really playing with the values. So some areas have more paint, some have less paint. And I'm just going to start adding in some with the side of my brush so I get a thick petal here, and just bringing them all in. So here's another one, point, press, and then I might bring that around, okay, because we're going to start closing this in. So what I would do here is start right here because you want to have this circle bowl. Point, press, point, press, and we want to start coming around the outer edge here. Point, press, point, press. So we're creating this bowl. I know that looks funky right now, but when we finish, you will get what I'm doing here. Point, press, point, press, point, press. Just, you know, like I said, these flowers are very fluffy. So now we've created this container, this bowl. Once this dries, I'm rinsing off my brush. We're going to go in and we will add the little yellow in the middle. We could actually even really do it right now. Let's give it a try. So I'm going into this yellow, and let's just go in and start adding some of these little yellow stamens in there, okay? Like that. Isn't that pretty? And then we'll add in, we're gonna do another one of these over here. That's kind of shaped like this. So it's kind of to the side, because in composition, what I have found is most interesting, I work with threes. So 3, 6, 9 elements, typically 3. And I make sure when you look at the painting, you have a painting like this coming out this way. My next one's going to be coming this way. And maybe I'll just do one more here in a certain direction, maybe facing down. So you've kind of got these lines, these guides of how the flower is facing. That's drawing your eye around. So let's go ahead and start creating this one over here. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller. So let's do that. So I'm going to start here. See, I have a drip on there, so I just got rid of that. And we're going to point, press, okay, like that. And then let's do another one. Point, press, okay. And then point, press. Just continuing to make these leaves. Look at how pretty that is. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that orange so I can blend it in a little bit with my pink. Okay, and all of my petals are pointing towards this center here. So point, press, just like that. Okay, point, press. I'm really point, press. coming in. I might even do one right here, point press. Okay, isn't that beautiful? I'm going to go back into my pink again in a really watery light wash. And I'm going to start creating these fluffies that are going to make this into a circle. Okay, so point, press, point, press. Let's do some more of those. Point, press, you know, these little fluffies we have here. Now I'm kind of painting this upside down, just like that. Isn't that lovely? I might even go in where some of these areas are still wet and just tap in with those darker values of the pink. I think that's really pretty, just like that. And then once this dries, we will go in with the yellow in here. Now, while this is wet, let's just go in and add a couple leaves. And we're using that same C stroke. So we're coming in here and we'll just add some leaves, because remember, I want this interest. So I have this flower coming this way, or this way, your eye's going into the flower, and then it's traveling and it's coming out here. So it's a beautiful flow with your eye. So let's just create a flower here, I mean a petal here. So point, press, and the other side, point, press, just like that. Okay? Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I could just paint all day with these colors. And then let's do another little one coming out here. Point, press, like that. And I'm going to pick up just a little bit different color with that. So this one, I believe that one's called Sennelier Green. Gosh, that one's been on my palette for so long, I don't even remember what it's called. I just tap in while this is wet. Might be kind of fun. And then point, press. I might just leave that like that. Point, press, something like that. Okay. So there you go. And then let's think about putting a leaf, or let's do our flower right here. I love, love, love buds. So let's create kind of a smaller flower right here. Okay, so we're going to, and I don't want them too close. So point, press, something like that. Get a little bit of this in here. We just want to create some buds here, okay? Something like that. I think I'm going to create another one right here. Point, press. So this one, I'm kind of pushing into the side of my brush, if you notice that. Point, press, and then I'm bringing it back. Something like that, okay? Now, while this is wet, I'm going to use the tip of my brush and touch into these wet areas, okay? Because I want that beautiful blend. Get a little bit more green. And then let's just add in some pretty leaves here. So maybe this is coming out here, something like that. Point, press, point, press. Isn't that lovely? Oh, I just love these. Point, press, point, press. There we go. So here's those threes that we've got. And we've got a great composition here because we've got your eye coming in here. It's going out there. Your eyes moving around. There's a beautiful flow here. If I can find my part of composition. is, you know, when you use opposite colors, yellow and blue, they're on the opposite sides of the color wheel. Those are called complementary. They're very beautiful and can create some real pop and interest to your paintings. But if you have too much, or say you have all these colors and then I only added blue in here, the paintings, your eye's going to go through the painting and get stuck right there. So you don't want to add in a different pop of color in one spot. You want to make sure you kind of spread it around, so to speak. So if I was to add in maybe that little bit of blue, which let's just play with this turquoisey blue, Winsor Newton, we would just dab in here like so. So if I left this like this, what happens? Your eye kind of goes through the painting and it just stops and it gets stuck right there, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to keep the eye moving. So what we'd want to do is add maybe some right here, some blue, okay? Like that. Now, look at how much prettier that is. Your eye's coming through, it's traveling, it's flowing. There's some beautiful blue, the complementary color, that pop of color. Oh, now my eye wants to come down here. I might even add some here, like so. So now you've got your eye kind of traveling beautifully around this painting. Now, before that blue dries, what I want to do is go in with some of this green and just add very lightly using the tip of my brush, okay? Just connecting these so they don't look like they're just floating out there. All right, so you're adding them in. When they touch that beautiful turquoisey color, they're kind of blending, okay? Just like that. Isn't that a lovely composition? So I've got one real focus. I've got these two right here that are really a focus. Then I've got this third element, but they're not all competing. They're each very unique and special on their own. I've got a nice flow. So when you look at this, your eye's traveling in. Oh, look at the blue. Oh, now my eye wants to go back in here. Then it travels down here. Then it comes back around. So you're keeping the eye beautifully moving around your piece. And that's what we want. We don't want your eye stopping because you've got one large element here or one large element here. You want the colors and the directions to be just pulling your eye beautifully around. So I'm just going to add in a few of these like that. And then I think we're pretty much done here. I'm going to add in some yellows in here just for those stamens. So I'll pick up my cad yellow and I'm just going to add in some of these little things. Now, I've seen a lot of peonies that have even some dark in there. So they have that beautiful yellow, but then I sometimes like to add this beautiful burnt sienna. I love this color because it's kind of got this pretty orangey color and it goes really well with these. So I might even tap in some of that. Look how pretty that is. All right. And that brown kind of goes with these other colors. Just like that. So isn't that beautiful? In composition, I always stick with 3. And that just seems to work for me. So, you know, basic composition, just stick with the 3. Now, I'm going to do a tutorial for you that I'm going to be going in a little bit deeper into composition and giving you some more elements and components of it. But I think this is a really good example. Now, if I really wanted to add some dimension here, what I could do, I talk about values a lot, is go into a very dark value of green. I think I'm even going to, excuse my rotating palette there, so sorry. Go into this darker green and pick up a lot. I'm really rolling my brush around. Now watch this. How fun and interesting can this be? I'm going to add a leaf right here. Point, press, point, press. Look at that. It really popped that leaf out, right? We could even add another one right here. Let's do that. So you can see the importance of having different values. Let's do one right here. Point, press, point, press. Look at that. Okay, so how much beautiful interest have you got there? Now your eye has all this beautiful elements of composition. We've got directions coming in and out, leading our eye. We've used a complementary color, which is opposites of these on the color wheel, but we haven't just plopped it into one area where your eye's drawn to it and just get stuck. We've kind of led the eye around with that pop of color. We've played with our values. We have more of a washy green here. Then here we went in with a dark value, which is more pigment, less water, and that created a depth in our painting. We've got our 3 elements. So I think this is a great example here for you. I could even play with maybe a leaf coming out here or here, maybe one coming out this way. Let's play with that and see what that looks like. Grab some more paint here in a dark element. Now I'm kind of going rogue here, but let's see, where could we plop one in? How about if we do one right here? Point, press, point, press. Look at how pretty that is. Now I feel like we've got this real diagonal. See that? So your eye kind of goes like this, then just stops. So I want to lead that eye around to come in here. So I might just add another little leaf right here. Point, press, like that. So now I've got coming in here, there. Look at that beautiful flow, maybe even one here. Isn't that lovely? We've got all these beautiful flows and colors. You've added in a little complementary color opposite on the color wheel. You have to be really careful when you use those opposites. Again, they can, when they're put in a painting, if they're not put in correctly, they, like I said, can stop your eye. If I just put them up here, your eye would go there and just stop. You want to kind of share them around, okay? So I hope this was good for you. I hope this gave you a little bit of an idea of a little bit of composition, point, press. I felt like I wanted to put another leaf there. A little bit of using complementary colors, which is opposites. These are more analogous colors. They're closer to each other on the color wheel, so they're very smooth and soothing. And then popping in these other colors just makes for such a beautiful piece. So I hope you enjoyed that. The kit I'll put together will have, I will label all of these colors. You'll even get this original, and I will give you a practice sheet with some directions and some of the strokes that you can have in front of you, and then come back to this video and watch it. And you have these with, you know, my college teachers, I would always sit at the front of the class so I could see, and after class I would always go up and kind of study her brush strokes and study where she put more paint. And I would have loved to have grabbed her pieces that she taught us on and have them in front of me, because I think they would have been so useful as a resource. So I'm trying to do that for you. So I will put this in. They're $25 for the 3 pieces, and my notes and the strokes and the color swatch, and hopefully those all help you. And let me know if you have any questions. I'm so happy you're here with me, and I hope this was useful for you. All right, friends, I will talk to you soon, and happy painting.